Hey, Stan Deaton with the Georgia Historical Society. Welcome back. That time of year is coming again, that dreaded night when you go to bed and move your clock forward and lose an hour of sleep. I'm talking about daylight savings time. It comes back Saturday night, March 13th, and it will last until the first Saturday in November, about 8 months. Now, daylight savings time is on the menu in the Georgia State Legislature. There's a move afoot to put us permanently on daylight savings time. Others want us to be permanently on Eastern Standard Time. The idea is let's stop moving the clock around. Which begs the question, of course, where does the whole idea of daylight savings time come from? Where did it come from? What does it mean to save daylight? How long have we been doing it? And what does it mean practically on the ground if we are permanently on either daylight savings time or Eastern Standard Time? Now, it's worth remembering, I did a podcast about 3 years ago about time, the whole notion of time. Where does the 7-day week come from? Why do we have 12 months in a year? Did you know that there's a movement afoot to put us permanently on a calendar that has 13 months, each with 28 days? That would put us at 364 days. We'd have to find that extra day somewhere, but each month would be the same. Mankind has been manipulating the calendar for as long as humans have been on this earth. Not only the calendar, of course, but time itself. Daylight savings time is a movement, of course, in which by shifting the clock forward 1 hour in summer, you make it lighter in the evening. That is, more natural light in the evening through sunlight, rather than have that time in the morning. This notion was first proposed facetiously by Benjamin Franklin in 1784 in an essay, but more seriously in 1895. Once the Industrial Revolution got here, humans began to be concerned with the idea of saving energy. And daylight savings time, by making us less reliant on artificial light in the evening, seemed a way to do that. In 1895, a New Zealand engineer proposed it, but it really gained legs and began happening around the world during World War I. Germany was the first country to implement it nationwide in 1916. The United States did it in 1918 after it got in the war in order to save coal. Now, farmers didn't like it. They liked the morning hours to be a little brighter. Don't care much about that staying daylight until 9 o'clock. They do a lot of their work in the morning. The United States went off daylight savings time after World War I, went back on it permanently for 3 years during World War II. Between February 1942 and September 1945, the U.S. was permanently across the country on daylight savings time. That ended after the war. In 1967, Congress passed an act bringing back daylight savings time. For 6 months, beginning with the last Sunday in April through the last Sunday in October, we were on daylight savings time. Brighter evenings, longer. Americans like to do things after their traditional workday is over, outside. The idea was that it gets people to be more active, saves on energy. Now, that whole saving energy theory is open to debate. For instance, in the American South, you run your air conditioner nonstop in the summertime, and the longer the sun is up, the hotter it is, and the more you run your air conditioner. But still, people seem to like the longer daylight hours into the evening. What would it mean to be on daylight savings time permanently? Well, I'll use Savannah as an example. In the height of winter here, we have about 10 hours of daylight. At the height of summer, we have about 14 hours of daylight. And it doesn't matter how you manipulate the clock, you're not going to get more hours. There's a finite amount of daylight. So it all depends on how you shift the clock as to where that daylight is. Right now, at the height of winter, while we are on Eastern Standard Time, the sun sets at 5:20. If you didn't change the time backward in November, that sunset would be at 6:20 on daylight savings time. Sounds pretty good. Sunrise, on the other hand, right now at its latest point is at about 7:20 in the morning. If you stayed on daylight savings time permanently, the sunrise would be at almost 8:30 in the morning. Very dark winter mornings if you stay on daylight savings time year-round. Conversely, in the summertime right now, while we're on daylight savings time, the sun rises at about 6:20 in the morning. If you didn't move the clock forward 1 hour in March and stayed on Eastern Standard Time, the sunrise would be at 5:20 in the morning. Sunset, which is now at about 8:30 here in Savannah, would be at 7:30. What that would mean is that in the summertime, it would begin to get daylight at about 5 a.m. when most people are still asleep, and it would get dark completely by 8 o'clock at night. So if you stay on Eastern Standard Time, you get brighter mornings in the summer and brighter mornings in the winter. If you stay on daylight savings time, you get bright evenings in the summer and very dark mornings in the winter. And in fact, in countries where daylight savings time has been, where they've gone to it permanently, after several years, they usually go back either to standard time or a mixture because they don't like the dark winter mornings. Something for us to ponder, and it sounds like Georgians are going to get the chance to vote on this pretty soon. Daylight savings time, all the time, Eastern Standard Time, or keep moving the clock backward and forward. Whatever happens, remember, this has been going on for a very long time and is not likely to be the end of it here. Stay safe, stay strong, and stay awake. I'm Stan Deaton with the Georgia Historical Society. As always, thank you for watching.